Chapter 12, Duel with Riva. This was my first time in Zishue's bedroom. The room was elegantly decorated, predominantly in light purple hues. I took a seat, and Zishue sat next to me. For a long time, neither of us spoke a word. I broke the silence, saying, "I'm sorry about yesterday. I was too impulsive. I know you meant well for me. But I didn't feel I did anything wrong. Isn't it right to pursue victory?" Zishue glanced at me and murmured, "Do as you wish." I looked back at her, asking, "Are you still mad at me?" She shook her head. "Did you know your sister also wants to challenge Riva?" Zishue looked up in surprise. "What did you say?" "My sister wants to challenge Riva?" I was equally astonished. "You didn't know?" "I thought it was you who asked her to do it." Her face flushed in anger. "Why would you suspect me? Don't you think I know about your desire to challenge Riva? After all that you've done, isn't it all for this? Given our relationship, you still doubt me?" I was at a loss for words, stuttering, Zishue interrupted, "Enough. I'll take you to her. Ask her yourself." She grabbed my hand and led me out. I hurriedly said, "Zishue, don't be mad. Please listen to my explanation. I wasn't doubting you. Zishue continued to pull me to a nearby room. "My sister is inside. Ask her." She knocked, and a voice from inside, Zishue's sister Z's voice, answered. "Who is it?" "Sister, it's me. I brought Leixiang. He wants to know why you wish to challenge Riva." "Oh, wait a moment." Soon, the door opened, and Z stepped out. She glanced at her pale-faced sister and coldly said to me, "Did you upset my sister? Why does she look so distressed?" Before I could respond, Zishue said, "Sister, he didn't do anything. Why do you want to challenge Riva?" Z replied, "It's nothing. Riva has been bothering me for a while. I want to give him some trouble." Turning to me, Zishue said with tears in her eyes, "You heard that. It wasn't my idea. Are you satisfied now?" I awkwardly replied, "Zishue, please don't be like this." To my surprise, Z stepped in for me. "Didn't you bully my sister? I've heard about your misdeeds. Not only are you ruthless to your opponents, but you also treat my sister this way? I won't let you off." I quickly defended, "It's not like that. Please, don't misunderstand." Zishue wiped her tears and said to Z, "Sister, I wanted to ask you to cancel your challenge with Riva." Z frowned. "Why?" Zishue replied, "Because he, Leixiang, wants to challenge Riva. Two people can't challenge him at the same time, can they?" Z raised an eyebrow. "So you think you can challenge Riva? Overconfident much?" Her words irritated me, and I retorted, "Why can't I challenge him? Even if I lose, I want to try. You know Riva's strength, so what's the point in challenging him? It's just a chance for him to show off. But it's different for me. I want to prove that he's not the strongest." Surprisingly, Z's eyes sparkled with admiration. "Fine, you have guts. I'll give this opportunity to you. But if your strength is only what I saw during your duel with our father, you won't even get close to Riva. Think carefully." Proudly, I replied, "I've thought it through. Challenging a powerful opponent is a joy in itself." Z looked at Zishue and asked, "What do you think, little sister?" Tears clouded Zishue's eyes as she replied, "It's his choice. He can do what he wants." Z comforted her, "Men should have their ambitions. If he has the courage, you should support him. Stop crying and be strong." I was taken aback by Z's sudden support and felt my impression of her change. Z continued, "You don't need to worry about my sister. Just prepare yourself. According to the Academy's rules, if I withdraw, your duel with Riva will be in 2 days. I hope to see a duel between the strong, not a one-sided match." Thinking of Riva's arrogance, my fighting spirit surged. Turning to Zishue, I asked, "Can you walk me out?" She nodded. I pulled her small hand and walked straight to the entrance of the Duke's mansion. I gently said, please don't blame me, okay? I never doubted you for a second. In my heart, you are irreplaceable. Zixue leaned into my embrace, pressing herself closely against me, whispering, be cautious, I was too willful. Feeling relieved with Zixue's forgiveness, I hugged her, breathing in the fragrance of her hair, and queried, sweetie, why has your sister suddenly spoken favorably of me? She never gave me that impression. Zixue chuckled softly, raising her head, you don't understand her. What she values most are the strong. Do you know what she said when Li Hua pursued her? I gave her a puzzled look. She continued, my sister said she'd only consider marrying Li Hua when he becomes a dragon knight. In her view, only the strongest on the continent can give her a sense of security. I thought to myself, so that's the reason. Quite peculiar. I'm glad I'm not in love with her. I commented, by the time Li Hua achieves the position of dragon knight, he might be old and gray. Will your sister still wait for him? Zixue playfully hit me, replying, well, not exactly. She once said she'd marry anyone who becomes the strongest on the continent, even if they're from a different race. If you beat Li Hua, who knows? Maybe she'd take an interest in you. Astonished, I responded, your sister seems more power-obsessed than I thought. Maybe she should have been born a man. Then, I added, stop teasing. Having you is enough for me. Zixue's face lit up with a contented smile, honestly, it doesn't matter. If you win my sister's heart, I'd be overjoyed. It'd be great if we could always be together. I replied with a wry smile, let's not, their temperament is unpredictable. I can hardly handle just one of you. Feigning anger, Zixue retorted, are you saying I'm moody? I quickly reassured her, no, of course not. You're the sweetest, Zixue. Suddenly, a cough sounded from behind. I quickly let go of Zixue, turning to find the Duke returning. Flushed with embarrassment, Zixue ran back inside the mansion. The Duke, with a stern expression, approached me, young man, is this the immodest closeness you spoke of with my daughter? Emphasizing the modest closeness with heavy intonation. Caught red-handed, I apologized, I'm sorry, your grace. The Duke harumphed, what are you here for? I responded, well, since I aim to challenge Li Hua, and Miss Ziyan has the same intention, I came to ask her to yield that right to me. Upon hearing this, the Duke's interest piqued, so you've become the freshman champion. Impressive. But challenging Li Hua, I fear. Cutting him off, I sighed, there's a gap, isn't there? I'm aware, but I still want to try. At the very least, I need to know where I stand, so I can improve. Both father and daughter seemed to think alike. The Duke admired my determination, well said. I'm looking forward to your performance. It seems allowing you to be with Zixue wasn't a mistake. Good luck, young man. With a hearty laugh, the Duke didn't press further and returned to the mansion. The visit to the Duke's mansion was more fruitful than expected. Not only did I win the admiration of both the Duke and Ziyan, but I also secured the right to challenge Li Hua. I was even more excited about the upcoming match. Since the third-year champion, Ziyan, has forfeited her challenge against the fifth-year champion, Li Hua, the freshman champion, Lei Xiang, will be directly challenging him. The match is about to begin. All supervising teachers, please take your positions. For years, no freshman champion dared challenge the fifth-year champion. This competition drew the attention of the academy's top tier, with the dean, vice dean, and all department heads present. The duel was set in the much larger Arena 1 than the previously used Arena 4. 4 teachers, all at least mid-tier mage knights, set up a magic barrier around the arena, and almost the entire academy gathered to watch this grand finale. To my surprise, the vice dean was the referee. As I stepped onto the stage, he whispered to me, "You've got guts, kid. If things get tough, use your dark magic. I've got your back." His words warmed my heart. I gave him a grateful glance before positioning myself. The crowd, mostly chanting Li Hua's name, especially the freshmen, were either cheering for their idol or hoping for a spectacular showdown. Li Hua, donning a simple warrior's outfit, stood opposite me, unaffected by the crowd's uproar. The vice dean called us to the center. This duel is a friendly sparring session. Li Hua, especially you. Everyone knows you're the stronger one. Remember, no maiming or killing. Understood? We both nodded. Li Hua said, impressive. You've persevered till now. I snorted, what's so great about you? You just practiced a few years more than I did. Li Hua laughed heartily, I'll always be a chasm you'll never cross. Unless I'm dead, you'll never beat me. You've defeated many of our department's juniors in this tournament. Today, I'll avenge them. By the way, thanks for stopping Ziyan from challenging me. He said the last part with a hint of relief. I nodded, that's because I want to defeat you myself. Li Hua commented, if I truly had to face her, I couldn't bring myself to harm her. I'd have to admit defeat. I certainly don't possess your courage. He was clearly alluding to my battle with Bing Bing. The vice dean declared, enough talk. I announced the start of the match. With that, he swiftly moved off the stage. For supervising teachers below immediately activated a magical barrier, completely isolating Li Hua and me from the outside world. Li Hua and I simultaneously retreated, increasing the distance between us to 20 meters. Smiling, Li Hua remarked, I heard you don't use weapons. I won't use one today either, so no one can accuse me of taking advantage of you. I coldly replied, use whatever you want. My hands are the best weapon. Li Hua smirked, your abilities might not be much, but you sure are cocky. Let's see if your skills match your words. Just as I was about to attack, Li Hua vanished from my sight. The spectators below saw him flash to my right side, as fast as lightning, delivering a punch to my shoulder. A massive force hit me, and my towering figure was thrown into the air, crashing into the barrier set by the teachers. I then fell heavily to the ground. Ziyan and Zishui both cried out in shock. While Zishui's call was filled with pain, Ziyan's was one of disdain. What's with this Lei Xiang? Ziyan complained to Zishui, he's such a disappointment. The impact from Li Hua was undeniably powerful. Still, thanks to my extraordinary defense, I quickly rose to my feet, pushing past the pain in my shoulder. Chuckling, Li Hua said, although I couldn't gauge the strength in your hands, I did find out you have tough skin. I circulated fighting energy throughout my body, sending numerous low-level spells surging towards Li Hua. He stood unfazed, allowing my magic to bombard him. Yet, no matter the spell, it vanished 3 feet before reaching him. Such a formidable protective aura he possessed. With a powerful punch, I struck the ground, unleashing a torrential tempest. Li Hua sneered and also punched the ground. Our energies collided, shaking the very earth. I was thrown into the air once more. I had lost in this clash of power, and it wasn't a close fight. Li Hua didn't pursue his advantage. Still relaxed, he remarked, that was an impressive move, but it seems you haven't fully mastered it. And your power. It's lacking. I staggeringly rose again, astonished at the terrifying strength of a senior Earth Knight. To my resilience, Li Hua remarked, you're tough. It's been a while since I had a punching bag. Let's get some practice in. He darted to my side, his fist sending me flying once more. This time I was prepared. As he struck me, I channeled the combined power of my Sky Lightning armor technique and the dark element of the Heavenly Demon art to the point of impact. Although I was shaken, I didn't sustain major injuries. Thus, I was repeatedly knocked down and quickly rose, only to be struck again. With each blow, Li Hua grew more surprised and hit harder. Each time I hit the ground, it took longer to get up. I attempted to launch an offensive with the Heavenly Demon art, but he gave me no opportunity for grand spells, and my minor ones couldn't harm him. The dean remarked to the vice dean, should we stop the match? There's no competition, it's just one-sided. The vice dean replied, let's wait a bit. There might be a miracle. Zishui wept at the edge of the stage, shouting for me to admit defeat. But due to the soundproof barrier, I couldn't hear her. And if Ziyan didn't care for her sister, she would have left in disappointment already. The unparalleled speed and strength displayed by Li Hua was awe-inspiring. No, I couldn't lose this way. My consciousness was scattering, Li Hua's punches grew heavier, and blood trickled from my mouth. My entire body felt like it was tearing apart. Another of Li Hua's punches sent me crashing into the barrier. Through blurred vision, I saw Zishue's tear-streaked face and Ziyan's contempt. Rage surged within me. This time, when I fell from the barrier, I didn't collapse but stood with my head bowed. Suddenly, Li Hua sensed my surging momentum and grew cautious. I abruptly lifted my head, roaring towards the sky. Every drop of blood in me seemed to boil. A heat rush filled my brain, turning my pale green hair bright red and my clear eyes blood red. My wounds healed rapidly, and an intense killing intent radiated from me. Both the Dean and Vice Dean exclaimed in unison, "Berserker." The Vice Dean questioned, "Should I end the match now?" The Dean excitedly responded, "It should be all right." Li Hua's power far surpasses his opponent. It's been years since a Berserker appeared. Our academy has produced one, and he's a freshman. If nurtured well, he can achieve greatness. Our academy could become the top of the 4 major academies. For the second time in my life, I had entered a berserk state. Due to my nearing completion of the 3rd layer of the Heavenly Demon Art, I could retain some clarity. Li Hua, although startled, recognized my berserk state. He quickly sent a punch from his spot, a surge of fighting energy targeting my chest. I laughed wildly and astonishingly grasped the energy in midair, dispelling it effortlessly. Both Ziyan and Zishue were stunned. I, who was just being pummeled, now stood tall and undefeated, exuding a monstrous aura. Ziyan said to Zishue, "Sister, you've really struck gold this time. This young man can transform into a wild state." Li Hua gestured with his right hand and summoned a long sword from the weapon rack, staring intently at me. Slowly shifting his stance, he looked for an opening to attack. After my wild transformation, I felt an explosive power surge within me. Using the same move, Furious Storm, I struck the ground. Though it was the same move as before, the difference was night and day. Li Hua didn't dare to take it heedin. The ground within a 10-meter radius around him completely erupted, and the fighting spirit was incredibly wild. Numerous spiraling pillars of energy, mixed with debris, completely sealed his surroundings. This was the true power of the Wild God technique. Li Hua displayed astonishing composure. With his long sword, he infused his fighting spirit, keeping himself afloat. A myriad of sword shadows protected him. Although he was pushed back against the barrier, it did not inflict any harm on him. Step by step, I approached him. There was a look of astonishment in Li Hua's eyes, clearly taken aback by my overwhelming combat power. With a light tap of his toe against the barrier behind him, he dashed beside me, slashing with his sword. In my wild state, I felt no pain, especially with my significantly enhanced defense. I disregarded his assault. Allowing him to strike me, I roared and released my fighting spirit, pushing him aside and shouted, "Wild Warrior Supreme." The space around me began to distort, my red hair stood on end, my muscles swelled even further, tearing through my clothes. Thankfully, it was primarily the upper body, or it would have been embarrassing. Li Hua was no fool. Seeing my aura, he knew I was not to be trifled with. Retreating, his body was enveloped in intense flames. While encased in the flames, he remarked, "After your wild transformation, you truly are formidable. Worthy to be my opponent. Let's give it our all." Ultimate technique Dragon Cloud Sky Shatter. He started spinning rapidly, forming a tornado-like pillar of light, ascending into the sky. The Dean said to the Vice Dean, "This is bad, both Li Hua and Lei Xiang are going for the kill. Quick, let's intervene and stop them. Remember, guide them, and do not harm them." At that moment, my Wild Warrior Supreme activated. An overwhelming red combat energy instantly covered a 3-meter radius in front of me. With a roar, I shouted, "Fight!" The red combat energy, wave-like, shot towards Li Hua in the sky like lightning. Li Hua transformed into a spinning dragon of light, diving towards me. At this critical moment, 2 figures, one gray and one white, intervened, emitting beams of unknown origin, either magic or combat energy. They channeled our released power into the sky. The sky barrier could not withstand such an impact, turning into specks of light, fading into the air. Feeling drained of all strength, I blacked out. After a flash of light, Li Hua landed on the platform, pale-faced, relying on his longsword for support. Both deans stood in the center of the arena. The vice dean announced loudly, "The match is over. Li Hua is the winner. Everyone, please disperse." Indeed, had our powers collided, I would surely have been the one defeated. After all, my strength came from the wild transformation, not from genuine training like Li Hua's. The dean complimented Li Hua, "Your skills have improved, Li Hua. You've done well. I even struggled to counter your last move. Go rest." Li Hua replied with a bitter smile, "Improved? I almost got defeated by a freshman. So embarrassing." The dean chuckled, "Don't be disheartened. A physique capable of wild transformation hasn't been seen for centuries. Why be upset? Moreover, you still emerged victorious." The vice dean picked up the unconscious me, reverted to my original state, and told the dean, "The kid exhausted himself. I'll take him for treatment." The dean nodded in agreement. Down below, Zixue was anxious and wanted to rush forward but was held back by Xian. Xian reassured, "Don't worry. With my teacher taking care of him, he'll be fine." Only after hearing this did Zixue calm down. I slowly regained consciousness, feeling weak. Struggling to sit up, a gentle voice chided, "Stay still. You need to recover." Only then did I see the dean and vice dean sitting by my bedside. I said, "Vice dean, thank you for healing me." The vice dean smiled, "We didn't really heal you. It's not an injury but exhaustion. You'll recover naturally over time." The dean asked, "Lei Xiang, did you know you could undergo wild transformation before?" Feeling alarmed that this wild transformation could be a characteristic of the Baimon tribe, I responded, "Wild transformation? I have no idea." The dean explained, "During your match with Li Hua, you underwent a wild transformation. This means individuals with special physiques can suddenly unleash their body's full potential, amplifying their attack, defense, and recovery speeds." Scratching my head, I said, "I didn't know about it." During my match with Li Hua, my head heated up, and my entire body felt like it was boiling. I don't remember anything else. I lost, right? The dean nodded, "Indeed, but you fought valiantly. It's rare to see Li Hua pushed to his limits by a student. If you harness this wild transformation trait, you'll achieve great things. There are very few wild warriors on the continent." Relieved, I replied, "Thank you for your guidance." The dean said, "Would you consider transferring to the martial arts division? It might be better suited for your development." Before I could respond, the familiar voice of Teacher Zhuang interrupted, "Absolutely not. We finally have a promising talent in our magic and martial arts division, and you're trying to poach him. What will become of us?" The dean offered an awkward smile to Teacher Zhuang, who had appeared at the door. "Zhuang, I'm thinking of his best interests. As you've seen, he has the ability to become a wild god. Being in your division might hinder his potential." Teacher Zhuang sat beside my bed, voicing her displeasure, who says, "Lei Xiang has a natural talent for magic as well. I don't agree with him transferring to the martial arts division." She cast a wary glance at the dean. The vice dean intervened, "Let's not argue. We should respect the student's choice." I pondered for a moment, thinking of the maternal warmth Teacher Zhuang had shown me. I've decided to stay in my current class. I really like magic. The dean, looking resigned, said, "Very well. If you ever need guidance in martial arts, any teacher in the academy will assist you." I nodded, "Thank you, Dean." He continued, "Then I won't disturb your rest any further. Once you've recovered, you can take a break and return to classes in April. Ensure you're not behind. The academy will cover your expenses here." Watching the dean depart, Teacher Zhuang, overcome with emotion, hugged me tightly, planting a kiss on my face. Tearfully, she whispered, "Thank you, Lei Xiang, for staying with the class." Blushing, I touched the lipstick mark on my face. "Teacher, you've been so kind to me. How could I ever leave? Suddenly, I noticed the vice dean gesturing towards the door. Following his gaze, I saw a distraught Zixue, her clothes soaked with tears. Zixue, why are you here? Zixue cried out, yes, I'm here. Did I interrupt something? She turned to leave. A flustered teacher Zhuang, realizing the misunderstanding, blushed deeply. Lei Xiang, go after her. I gave a wry smile. How can I chase after her in my condition? It's a misunderstanding. Once I'm better, I'll explain. The vice dean chuckled. This is the academy's hospital. Rest here, and you'll recover in no time. Your performance today was astonishing. Train well, and your future will be bright. That wild god battleground move today really took a toll on me. My light magic's healing effects saved me, or I would have been bedridden like you. Knowing he was jesting but proud of his praise, I replied, had you not confined me for 3 months, I wouldn't have achieved this. He grinned, rest up. And remember, girls need affection. How will you win her over with that constant stern face? Zhuang, let's go. Teacher Zhuang instructed, when you return to the academy to pack up, come find me. I nodded in acknowledgement.